Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, will you please take roll?
Assembly members Anderson, Carter, Cole, Hardy, Howdigi, Kasama, Miller, Monroe Moreno, O'Neill, Roth, Torres Fawcett, Yeager, Urick, and Chair Marzola.
I am here. Please mark Assemblymember Torres Fawcett present once she arrives, and please mark Speaker Yeager absent excused. Welcome everyone that is here with us in Carson City today, those in Las Vegas, and everyone tuning in over the internet. Today we will hear 4 bills: Senate Bill 166, Senate Bill 167, Senate Bill 189, and Senate Bill 191. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, which are all listed on the agenda. When testifying, please remember to turn on your microphone to speak and off to listen. Also remember to state and spell your name for the record. If you have committee handouts, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary. Committee information is available on the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings through the legislature's YouTube channel. I expect courtesy and respect in all our interactions in this committee, even if we may not agree. Finally, please remember to put all your electronic devices either on off mode or silent mode. And with that, we will move to our first agenda item. One minute recess. I will now open a hearing on Senate Bill 166. This measure revises provisions relating to housing. Welcome, Senator Scheibel. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your patience. I apologize for my tardiness. My name is Melanie Scheibel. I represent Senate District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. I'm happy to be here today to present SB 166 to you. I know that I had a co-presenter who was planning to join us in person who was unable to make it because of the weather. I'm not sure if Ms. Riggs or Ms. Benassi are on Zoom at this point.
Susan Riggs is on.
Perfect. If you don't mind, I'd like to pass it over to Ms. Riggs to walk you through the bill and explain the purpose.
Yeah, good afternoon. I apologize for not being there in person. My flight was actually canceled due to the winds in Reno. So I am in a bit of a noisy place, so I apologize in advance if there's any disruption. Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. My name is Susan Riggs. I'm Senior Director of Housing Policy for the ASPCA. And I'm here today to present on SB 166, which has 2 substantive parts. The first is an expansion in the scope of existing limitations on the use of dog breed in underwriting property liability insurance policies. In 2021, this body took action to ensure that the ability to secure homeowners and renters insurance coverage does not present a housing barrier for households with particular breeds of dogs in their homes. However, for renters, landlord-imposed breed restrictions resulting from limitations in their property insurance coverage continues to influence the acceptability of those breeds in rental properties. By removing dog breed from the underwriting criteria for landlord liability policies, landlords who are willing to accept all dogs regardless of breed will no longer operate in a gray area, not knowing whether their insurance providers will deem dog-related incidents uninsurable. And it's important to note here that the majority of such incidents are not aggression-related. These are actually all along the lines of trip and falls, so very much unbreed related. The second section of the bill would ensure that residents of state-financed supportive housing are permitted to have pets. A national study conducted by the ASPCA revealed that those who rent are more likely to need to rehome their pets for housing issues than for any other reason. In particular, market factors have made it increasingly difficult for lower income households to maintain a pet due to availability and the cost of rental housing. The lack of pet-friendly housing options for both lower income households may lead to both housing insecurity and owners surrendering their pets to local shelters and rescues. Prohibitions on pets may also serve as a critical barrier to housing for our chronically unsheltered neighbors. Advocates for the homeless often refer to the 3 Ps as barriers to finding shelter. These are partners, possessions, and pets. In cases in which a person experiencing homelessness with a pet is required to separate from or surrender their pets to access shelter, they rarely agree to do so. Instead, they purposely seek out pet-friendly services or forgo housing entirely in order to remain with their pets. And seeking to create a sustainable pathway for permanent housing, pet-inclusive supportive housing is critical to ensuring that this barrier is addressed. In closing, in recent legislative sessions, the Nevada Legislature has made great strides to protect households with pets. SB 166 builds on this legacy. By removing barriers to pet-friendly housing, the state has it as its discretion the ability to create new pet-friendly rental housing opportunities, reduce the strain on local animal sheltering organizations, strengthen communities and families, and improve public health outcomes. We ask for your support on SB 166, and I'll stay on for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I think a few flights were canceled today, so we totally understand, and we'll start with Vice Chair Howdigi.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. Nice to see you. I just have a question. This is very similar to a bill that we had last session, and so I was wondering if you could walk us through if there's any changes or any differences between the bills that would be likely to help get the bill signed.
Thank you, Assemblymember Howdigi. This is similar to a bill that we passed in 2021, and it has been largely, it has been successful here in the state of Nevada. We were actually one of the first states to pass a bill prohibiting insurance companies from utilizing breed restrictions in underwriting because it's not scientifically based. That's been very successful with single-family dwellings. This expands that to include multifamily dwellings so that people who can't afford a home and are living in an apartment and renting can keep their pets with them.
Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Cole.
Thank you, Chair. So I guess my question is on the multifamily. I do see that as being a situation where there is more potential liability. I'm living in an apartment for the first time in a very long time, and I am surprised by the number of people who have not just one dog, but 2 dogs, and they are big dogs. And I actually hear in my front area multiple times, probably at least 10 times in the last 3 months, of dogs getting into arguments, we'll say. So, is there a concern that there is more liability in this area?
I'll let Ms. Riggs answer that question.
Yeah, so I think the 2 parts of the bill are really complementary to one another. We want to make sure that there are not a lot of disruptions and there aren't liability issues, and so the insurance provisions in the bill will help to protect landlords. But in generally speaking, we put in some parameters and allow the housing developers to also put in some parameters to ensure that there's harmony in their communities And all of the other code compliance regulations apply here. So if there are nuisance issues, if there are aggressive dogs, if there are violations of local laws for leashing or vaccinations, those types of things, those are all still applicable, just like in any other community. And I would just add that, we don't expect that this population would have more disturbances than any other population, whether they're homeowners, low income, high income, et cetera.
Go ahead.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but when we're talking about underwriting for insurance, are we saying that an apartment complex who has a policy that allows large dogs, any dogs, whatever, they would not be able to charge a higher premium for them? Is that what we mean by the underwriting? Thank you.
Melanie Scheibel, for the record, yes, that's exactly it, that the insurance company can't deny coverage to a apartment complex, for example, because they allow people to have German Shepherds in that apartment complex.
Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And this is just more of a comment. I really appreciate your work on this. I've been helping a lot with the shelter in my community, and it's sad. You read a lot of the reasons the owners surrender. It's because I can't have this dog, and they're perfectly fine dogs. And I just think, just because a dog is large, or that doesn't dictate that they're vicious or a bad dog. And so I appreciate this because, people's pets become their family, and so whatever we can do to help them keep their pets and keep them out of shelters, I think is great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Assemblymember O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I think I just need some explanation on a term. On page 3, line 10, it's in section 2(1)(2)(b). It says, allow a tenant in supportive housing to keep at least one pet. And I guess my question is the supportive housing definition and 1 pet. So I could keep my snake, I know I'm going extreme, but I'm asking how far does this go? If you would, please, somebody. Thank you.
Melanie Scheibel, for the record, excellent questions, and we did have these conversations with the the Rural Nevada Housing Authority and the Southern Nevada Housing Authority, and that's why pet is defined further down on line number 39. This was the language that the housing authorities requested, meaning it's a domesticated animal owned or possessed by a person for the purpose of pleasure or companionship, including without limitation a cat or dog. So we are generally focused on cats and dogs. A snake, I suppose, could fall into those parameters, but I think you're looking at different policies with a snake anyway. And supportive housing is also intended to mean housing that receives public money.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, Chair.
Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator. So now on that response, now that leads me to another question. So again, it seems obvious that a pet, we're talking a cat or dog. Some may argue a rabbit or something, but I wouldn't want to see a family limited because they also have an animal or possibly a reptile that is now caged. So let's talk about, I have a bird and a cat. I have, a few fish and a cat. I guess my question is, do you feel that we need to, I guess the question is, because it doesn't specifically talk about those other non-domesticated animals, or even, hamsters, gerbils, but things that are more caged, is there anything that would prevent them from having both, or that would be limited in this case?
Melanie Scheibel, for the record. Thank you for that question. We did discuss this with stakeholders as well and kind of landed on this compromise language, if you will, that says that they have to allow at least one pet, because we certainly don't want to put landlords in a position where someone is moving in with 6 dogs and there's nothing they can do about it. We want them to be able to put reasonable restrictions on the amount and number of pets. I think you and I are on the same page. We would agree that having 1 caged gerbil and 1 cat is not excessive, but rather than being so prescriptive in the bill, we left it as just must allow at least 1 pet. So they could put in, reasonable implementations, right? Because you also probably don't want somebody with 75 caged hamsters in an apartment complex. And so however the landlord or property owner wants to figure out that policy that is supposed to be available to them within the bill. The main thing that I think, the main concern that came up on the Senate side that we addressed with the definition of pet in subsection 7 was that pets are domesticated animals. They're not goats, they're not hippopotami, they're not...
Hippopotami?
I mean, somebody wanted one for Christmas, so that's the purpose of, narrowing that just a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Follow up? Okay, so then it is possible, because I think that's what we both agree on. We don't want a family to have to choose between the turtle or the bird and the dog or the cat.
Melanie Scheibel, for the record, I would agree.
Okay, thank you so much, Senator. Thanks.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any, Senator. So we will move to support testimony of Senate Bill 166. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and Vice Chair Howdeggy and members of the Assembly Commerce and Labor Committee. For the record, I'm Mendy Elliott, MENDY-ELLIOTT, with Flynn Judici Government Affairs, today representing the Nevada Rural Housing Authority as well as Southern Nevada Rural Housing Authority. And we really want to we appreciate the questions that were being asked, because we worked really closely with the senator and her supporters as it relates to this bill. We thought that the bill takes an important and compassionate step forward to ensuring that residents of supporting housing, especially supportive housing, and I want to quantify that from the rural authorities' perspective. We have a lot of supportive housing. The AMI is normally around 30%, AMI and less. These are seniors, usually one person in the apartment, and they want a cat or they want a dog. And so we really wanted to provide a little more prescription as it relates to what that might look like. These are important to these individuals. It helps with their mental health. And so for us, we just think that the bill is crafted to balance the residents' needs as well as the landlord's needs. So it is important. We really appreciate the amendment that that we worked on and we've all come together on, and appreciate your support of this bill at this juncture.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola. My name is Rebecca Goff, and I'm the Nevada State Director for Humane World for Animals, formerly known as the Humane Society of the United States. We are here in strong support of this bill. As it's been mentioned, and as we know, lack of attainable and affordable housing for people and their pets is one of the largest contributors to the shelter overpopulation crisis. And we know how important people's pets are. They are part of their family. So thank you so much for hearing this bill, and we strongly urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 166? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Testify in support for Senate Bill 166. Please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Romo, T-A-M-I-R-O-M-O. I do fully support this bill as I had to go through this past couple of years trying to find a place for myself and my 2 cats after I had a fire in my condo, which I'm still not back in my condo. So it was very hard. The prices were very astronomical, and they were all over the place, wanting to pay per month fees, and deposits, and it was absolutely crazy. So I do support this, and yes, these animals are my children, and I saved them from a fire. So to go through what I had to go through after the fire, just kept me on that victim pathway or mentality for a while. So yes, I strongly support this bill. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Chair, the lines are open and working. We have no more callers choosing to testify in support.
Thank you. Sir, are you testifying in support? Absolutely. We are back in Carson City. You may begin when you're ready. Please remember to state and spell your name.
T-Y-R-U-S-H-O-J-J-A-T-Y. I am in support. Thank you.
Thank you for your support testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City? We will now move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 166. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Senate Bill 166, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral to Senate Bill 166, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. Senator, would you like to give any closing remarks? I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 166. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 167. This measure prohibits the importation and sale of household cleaning products for which animal testing was performed. Welcome back.
Thank you again. My name is still Melanie Scheibel, representing Senate District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. I am also happy to be here presenting SB 167, which, as the chair just mentioned, prohibits the sale or importation into Nevada of household cleaning products that have been tested on animals. Animal testing is fortunately and quickly going out of fashion. We have much more reliable scientific methods for testing the safety of household products, from cosmetics to medicines to cleaning products. And in 2021, this body passed a similar bill prohibiting the sale of cosmetics in the state of Nevada that had been tested on animals. And SB 167 builds on this work to prevent the sale of cleaning products that have been tested on animals. The bill is longer than 2 lines because we do include a number of guidelines and some nuances to that. We're not looking to remove products from the shelf that are currently there. We're not going to tell anybody that they cannot utilize the data from animal testing that has already been done. But moving forward, we're going to take a stance that says that anybody who engages in unnecessary animal testing will not be able to profit in Nevada off of that cruelty. And so I'd like to turn it over to the expert on this topic, Monica Engebretson, who's joining us by Zoom.
Hello, thank you, committee. My name is Monica Engebretson. I'm a head of public affairs for Cruelty Free International. And I'm here to speak in support of the bill. Senator Scheibel did a great job of introducing the bill as outlined that the bill would require that manufacturers of household cleaning products use available non-animal testing methods when those methods are accepted by regulators. So the bill is very specific that there has to be the alternative, and that alternative test has to be accepted by regulators. As was pointed out, over the past 35 years, due to innovations in science, animal tests are increasingly being replaced by non-animal approaches, and modern alternatives have to undergo a rigorous process to demonstrate that they are as effective or more effective than the animal tests that they replace. So this bill would require that when those are available, that they are actually used. it may be commonly assumed that once a non-animal alternative is available, that the animal test no longer occurs, or at least rarely. Unfortunately, that's just not the case, that animal tests can continue to persist even when the non-animal method is better and faster and accepted by regulators. We've created a list of regulatory animal tests that are still conducted despite the availability of valid non-animal tests. And some of those tests are tests that are used in the testing of household cleaning products. The reason these animal tests may persist is due to some uncertainty or confusion about whether the test is accepted, or because manufacturers might believe that the animal test is the fastest way to approval, and it can just be easier to just do what's always been done. And there's also just what we call the checkbox approach, just running through the paces and continuing to use the animal test even when it's no longer required. However, these are not things that are unsurmountable, and they aren't reasons that are good enough to continue to use animals in these painful tests. So this bill will encourage those manufacturers to use those available tests at every opportunity. We did work very closely or very hard with the Household Manufacturers Association to address concerns that they raised about the bill. And that's the reason why you see some of the rewrites that happened after our first hearing. We addressed some of their concerns about wording that we had. We took exemptions to say if the chemicals that were being tested were imported in large quantities. Sometimes chemicals might be imported and the use isn't determined. And so we exempted that from the bill as long as those chemicals weren't imported primarily for household cleaning products. And we defined household cleaning products to make sure in the definition of household cleaning products that we are excluding things like rodenticides and pesticides. We weren't aiming to include those. These are the household cleaning products. So we took on those amendments, and we still think it preserves the intent of the bill, which is to continue to encourage manufacturers to use available non-animal methods whenever they are available. And as Senator Scheibel pointed out, Nevada's long been at the forefront of addressing this issue. After Nevada passed their laws on the cosmetics issue, 12 other states followed Nevada's example, using the bill as their example for their state laws. And this is another opportunity for Nevada to lead again, as this would be the first state to address unnecessary animal testing in household cleaning products. So I urge your aye vote, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are you ready for questions, Senator?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Committee members, are there any questions? Vice Chair Howdy.
Thank you, Chair. And nice to see you again, Senator. And I do have a quick question. I remember the bill from 2019. It was Senate Bill 197, I think. And I remember being really excited that we were pioneering this, because I think only one other state in the country had done it, and we were number 2. And so I just wanted to see if we have any data on how successful Senate Bill 197 has been in our state. And then your presenter answered my question. I wanted to see if any other state had implemented this version of the cleaning products, and I'm happy to see us again pioneering in this. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much for the question, Melanie Scheibel. For the record, I will hand it over to Ms. Engelbretson in just a second here, but I think that SB 197, you're right, it was 2019 session. I think it's a 2021 earlier. This 2019 session has been successful in Nevada. It has given consumers that assurance that when they walk into whatever store they're purchasing their cosmetics from, no animals have been harmed or forced to suffer in order to obtain those cosmetics. And as you also heard, we've had 12 additional states pass similar laws. To my knowledge, we've had no infractions here in the state of Nevada. This is the direction that most industry is already moving. And so this is one of those areas where industry is interested in following these regulations and making this kind of progress. And so we're actually working hand in hand to move the needle, and we're not working against each other. And so that's why, again, Ms. Engelbretson can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there have been any violations here in the state of Nevada.
Monica Engelbretson for Cruelty Free International. No, so the law has been very successful. We expected high compliance with the law, and that is exactly what we got. And in other states that have followed Nevada's model, the case is the same, that cosmetic manufacturers, if they're going to produce, follow the law for one state, they are now following it for the other states as well. And so we expect this to have the same, we would expect to have the same effect on household cleaning products. It sends a message that we want you to take the non-animal tests seriously and use them at every opportunity.
My colleague asked this question, and you actually answered earlier as well. Mine was, how many other states follow suit? I love when we're the first. Committee members, any questions? Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. So I noticed this bill doesn't come into effect until January 1st, 2030, which seems quite a ways off. And so my question is, was that date determined, was it based on because not all products are there yet where they've stopped the animal testing? Or is it because of businesses that still have it on the shelves and giving them time to respond?
I'll let Ms. Engebretson answer that.
Monica Engebretson for Cruelty Free International. So the 2030 was just a decision that we made to give manufacturers a long runway to start communicating with their supply chains. Household cleaning products, similar to cosmetics, have long supply chains, and they have to communicate with their supply chains that they want them to use the non-animal tests and ask them to verify that they've done that. So it just was a way to give them a long runway. Also, being the first year that we had tried this, we didn't know what opposition we might affect, and knowing that Nevada meets every other year, we wanted to make sure we had a long enough runway to have time to work on this new concept, and we did so far.
Thank you. Quick follow-up, Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you for that. So based on that, do you have any idea, like if we're looking at the products right now that are available, maybe like a percentage ballpark of how many right now could comply? Like how many now are already without animal testing as opposed to how many we believe still are? I won't ask for the
Monica
list because...
Engebretson. Sure. Monica Engebretson for Cruelty Free International. So I think I want to point out that all of the products on the shelf now will still be there in 2030 because the prohibition on using unnecessary animal tests takes place in 2030. So if the animal testing took place in the past, they can still use that testing data moving forward as long as the test wasn't new animal testing. We can't unring the bell and undo animal testing that already took place. It's moving forward. So that usually takes place with a brand new ingredient that's coming out into the market, or if for some reason there was a concern raised about a chemical, they might require more animal tests. And sometimes, and in this case, if the EPA, for example, said, we're not happy with this chemical, we're worried about it, we want an animal test, companies would be able to comply. But if they said, we want more data on this skin sensitivity, for example, and we accept the non-animal test, manufacturers would have to choose the non-animal test instead of giving them new animal testing data for that endpoint that they were being asked to provide safety data on, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much for that clarification. Thank you.
Assemblymember Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that brings up a question to my mind. Is there a database or a list of companies who have already made the decision to not do animal testing and their products are available for consumers to purchase? Is that available somewhere?
Monica Engebretson for Cruelty Free International. There are some companies that have signed on to independent third-party verifications, such as the Leaping Bunny program, but those certifications go further than this bill. They wouldn't allow animal testing for those products, even if regulators required them. So it's not the same sort of mandated alternative program that this would enforce. There are some manufacturers would still be able to go above and beyond what this bill requires, and there are some lists that are available that say which companies use no animal testing, but as far as just mandating the alternative, there isn't. And I think most manufacturers would like to tell their customers that they use non-animal tests whenever possible, but as it currently stands, they may go ahead and hire an outside company to run the tests and not verify it. This would encourage them to verify that that's actually happening because of Nevada's law.
Thank you so much for that. So knowing that there's not mandated anything right now, but if a consumer wanted to find a company that's been third-party verified that they do not use animal testing and they'd like to start utilizing those products, where would that consumer go to find that information?
Monica Ingebrigtsen for Cruelty Free International. They would go online. They could go to Cruelty Free International has a standard, or leapingbunny.org. And I think PETA is another organization that verifies have their own certification system on and animal testing. And so those organizations and third party would be available online, and they could shop for products that meet that higher standard than what this bill is asking for.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. We will begin with support testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 167? Don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 167, please press *9 now or raise hand in Zoom to join the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Tammy Romo, Tamiro. I am ecstatic to hear that you guys are on the forefront of getting or helping get rid of the animal testing that is done and stop it from coming to Nevada. And thank you for all your hard work. I'm sorry, the gal that's been speaking, thank you for what you do. And I fully support this bill. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in opposition for Senate Bill 167, please press *9 or raise hand in Zoom to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral of Senate Bill 167? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 167, please press *9 or raise hand in Zoom to join the queue. Caller in
Chair Marzola and
please
Chair
proceed.
Marzola and committee.
Let's try it one more time.
Chair Marzola and committee member. Can you hear me, Chair?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair Marzola and committee members. My name is Christopher Finarelli, CHRISTOPHER I'm here on behalf of the Household and Commercial Products Association. With the recent amendments adopted in the Senate, HCPA has moved to a neutral position on SB 167. We appreciate and wish to thank Senator Scheibel for her efforts to thoughtfully address what are often nuanced and complex issues. While we don't oppose the broader goal of reducing reliance on animal testing, it's important to note these intersect with a web of federal laws, regulations, and guidelines, and we're encouraged that the bill acknowledges these complexities. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to testify remotely.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, there are no additional callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Senator, would you like to give any closing remarks? I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 167. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 189. This measure provides for the licensure and regulation of genetic counselors. Welcome, Senator Lang. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. I'm a little under the weather today, but we'll all get through this, won't we? It's that time of the session. I'm Roberta Lang, representing Senate District 7 in Clark County. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 189, which is a measure that provides a licensure for genetic counselors in Nevada. This legislation is important for ensuring Nevadans have access to high quality and safe genetic counseling services. However, to be clear, for professionals who are already qualified to perform these services, this bill will not affect their ability to do so. With me in Las Vegas is Samantha Barnes, who is Director of Legislative Affairs and Operations from Carrera, Nevada, as well as Dr. Parikh, who is a medical oncologist and practice president of Comprehensive Cancer Centers of Nevada. Connor Kane, to my right, principal from Carrera, Nevada, is also available to answer questions. Genetic counselors are healthcare professionals with specialized training in medical genetics and counseling. They work with individuals and families to assess their risk for inherited conditions, interpret genetic test results, and provide support in making informed decisions about their health. Genetic counseling is a powerful tool in the oncology space. For example, a genetic counselor might work with a young woman who has a family history of breast cancer to determine her risk of developing the disease and discuss the pros and cons of genetic testing, preventative measures, and treatment options. For individuals and families, these are often life-altering decisions they must make. However, not all insurance plans reimburse services for genetic counseling in Nevada because our state does not require licensure to practice. Excuse me. To illustrate, Comprehensive Cancer Centers hired a master-trained genetic counselor to provide these critical services to patients. Unfortunately, the counselor was getting denied reimbursement by some health plans because he is not licensed. At this point, I'd like to hand it over to Samantha Barnes, who will provide more details and will walk you through the bill and let you know more about genetic counseling.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Samantha Barnes with Carrera, Nevada. Today, I will give a brief background and walk you through the sections of the bill. The intent with Senate Bill 189 is to create genetic counselor licensure in the state of Nevada. As you heard in Senator Lang's introductory remarks, genetic counseling is a powerful tool that can guide individuals and families to make informed decisions about their health care. Unfortunately, our master's trained genetic counselor is getting denied reimbursement by some health plans because he is not licensed, even though Nevada does not require licensure to practice. But these same plans are reimbursing for the same services if they are being provided by the advanced practice registered nurses employed by Comprehensive Cancer who have been accredited through a certificate program. By creating a license, we hope that health plans will reimburse for services provided by our genetic counselor and all of those across the state of Nevada, while joining the 36 other states with this type of licensure already in place. To be clear, this is not a new insurance mandate. They are already reimbursing for these types of services. We are just creating the license, so these masters trained and board certified healthcare professionals can also receive the same reimbursement for their critical services they are providing to Nevadans. I also want to note we are not creating a new board, as this will fall under the Board of Medical Examiners. Now I will walk you through the sections of the bill. Sections 1 through 5 add genetic counseling to the definition of healthcare provider, as well as defines genetic counselor and genetic counseling. Sections 6 through 10 discuss licensing requirements and board regulation. Sections 13, 15, 19 through 21 make conforming change to ensure genetic counselors are treated similarly to other healthcare providers under the board's jurisdiction. Section 18 talks about the advisory board and requirements to serve on that board. Section 23 establishes the fee schedule and the maximum fees the board can charge for issuing or renewing a genetic counselor's license. Sections 26 through 40 handle disciplinary action, investigations, and penalties for unlicensed practice. And finally, Section 48 deals with confidential communications between patients and genetic counselors. Now, I will hand it over to Dr. Parikh, who will explain the importance of genetic counseling within the oncology space and among his patients. And Chair, if I may, once Dr. Parikh finishes his testimony, if the committee has any specific medical questions for him, could we ask those first, as he does have to jump off and go see his patients. And then we have one more virtual participant, Sarah, who would like to provide some remarks, and then we'll be available to answer the rest of any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Chair Marzola and honorable members of the committee. My name is Dr. Rupesh Parikh, R-U-P-E-S-H, P-A-R-I-K-H. I'm a medical oncologist on behalf of Comprehensive Cancer Centers of Nevada in support of SB 189. Comprehensive Cancer Centers is the largest independent community-based cancer center in Southern Nevada. We have a multi-specialty independent physician-owned practice, not only including medical oncology, but also hematology, radiation oncology, breast surgery, pulmonary, and now cancer genetic counseling, along with clinical research. We have 45 physicians, 19 advanced providers, and we're committed to providing very effective treatments, both established and emerging, to diagnose and treat blood and cancer disorders. As a physician, and not only an oncologist, can't overstate the importance of genetic counseling. It provides patients and their families with a comprehensive understanding of their cancer risk, their genetics, and treatment options that are available to me based on some of those results. Counselors like those that we employ at Comprehensive help patients make these decisions about genetic testing, can reveal inherited mutations, along with increased risk of certain cancers, and what can we do to prevent those cancers. In addition, we also provide support for family members who may potentially be at risk for carrying some of these mutations. I have seen firsthand that genetic counseling offers emotional support, helping patients cope with the uncertainties and implications of genetic information. Essentially, what we're asking is that we have genetic counselors, they're trained, they're certified, they go through a master's program, which is 3+ years of college and a medical degree, and have a board of their own nationally that they test with. All we're asking the state of Nevada is come in line with 34 other states that made these practitioners a quote provider, end quote, so that we can bill for their services and we can continue to expand these programs. Not only does it apply to cancer medicine, but pediatrics, hematology, cardiology, whatever other genetic subspecialties can be tested under this same bill. Later, my patient Jean will share her story. She's received 4 different cancer diagnoses and was predisposed to a hereditary condition during testing. What Jean did not benefit from was the counseling she would have received today. It would have outlined all options available to her at that time. Luckily, we were able to catch each cancer in time, and she's still here years later because of the known mutation that we have. Thank you for your committee's support. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Chair, if any of person on the committee has questions for the doctor, if we could do those now so he can get back to his practice.
We can do that. Committee members, Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parikh. I just have to make a comment and thank you all for bringing this bill so much because it is so important. And my husband has benefited from genetic research into markers. And I mean, it's just so important for us to look at this because it does make a difference on the treatment. And I just have to say thank you to everybody for bringing this forward.
Any other questions or statements for the doctor before he has to leave? I don't see any. I have a quick one, doctor. Do you know how many genetic counselors we have in the state of Nevada?
I believe it's around 20. Don't quote me on that exact number. Somebody else may have that information on the line, but I think it's around 20 total in multiple different subspecialties. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Any additional questions? I don't see any.
I will say Can I just make one final comment?
Of course.
34 states already recognize these counselors as providers. There are 12 others that have legislation. We don't want to be the only two left behind without addressing this as a primary concern. It is critically important, I think. So.
And I would absolutely agree with you. And just for confirmation, are you saying 34 states or 3 or 4 states?
34 already have it recognized, yeah. And 12 others have legislation on the board that it probably will get passed later this year, so.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering that. And with that, I think that's all the questions we have for you. Thank you for being with
Thank
us
you.
this afternoon.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Senator, who would you like?
I think we have one more presenter online.
Hi, thank you so much. Chair Marzola, Vice Chair Howdigi, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Sarah Pirzadeh Miller, and I'll spell that for you, Pirzadeh-Miller, and I am the current president of the National Society of Genetic Counselors, or NSGC. I am a practicing clinical genetic counselor with 20 years of oncology experience from the state of Texas. NSGC would like to thank the committee for today's hearing on SB 189, which would establish requirements for the licensure of genetic counselors. We appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of this very important legislation. Certified genetic counselors are healthcare providers with significant training and expertise in human and medical genetics, patient education, and psychosocial counseling, as you just heard, obtained through a 2-year master's level program. We are employed in a wide range of clinical care, academic, lab, research, and biotechnology settings. And as a part of the healthcare team, we provide information and support to individuals and families concerned about the risk of genetic disorders. The availability of genomic testing services is growing rapidly. Today's genetic tests, which are becoming increasingly more complex, screen for thousands of diseases. Genetic counselors with our specialized training are ideally suited to work collaboratively with physicians and other healthcare providers to deliver high-quality, up-to-date genomic services. And importantly, we can make sure that the patients utilizing these services are appropriately educated with personalized information on impact not only for the patient, but also for their families. Clinicians and patients need to be able to trust that the genetic counselors they interact with are adequately trained and up to date on the latest genomic information. And licensing genetic counselors will help build this trust. Currently in Nevada, there is no legal standard to assure your citizens that they are interacting with someone who is appropriately representing themselves as a genetic counselor. As the field of genetics grows, there is and will continue to be a need to provide Nevadans with accurate information regarding genetic risk assessment, appropriate genetic testing, result interpretation, and much more. Making genetic counseling a licensed profession in your state will help protect the public from potential harm that can result from untrained individuals who could provide improper, unsafe genetic advice to patients. Genetic counselor licensing also provides benefits to employers who will be better equipped to ensure that they are hiring individuals who have the appropriate training and education to provide genetic counseling services. To date, 36 states, including neighboring California, Idaho, Oregon, and Utah, have passed licensure legislation. Without enacting SB 189, genetic counselors may seek employment outside of Nevada in states with licensure. NSGC urges the committee to advance SB 189 and ensure that genetic counselors practicing in Nevada meet minimum standards for academic achievement, clinical experience, and skills necessary to deliver high-quality genetic counseling services to Nevadans. We thank the chair, the vice chair, and this committee for your attention to this important issue and would be very happy to serve as a resource as this bill moves forward. Thank you so much.
And prior to answering questions, many of you know that I have end-stage renal disease, a very rare kidney disease, and had it not been for genetic counseling, I wouldn't know that I had this marker that once I get my transplant, I have to take a particular medicine for the rest of my life or I'll get the disease all over again. And so that's how important genetic counseling is. It is the future of medicine, and I look forward to your support.
Does that end your presentation? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Committee members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And I think that was a really good point you brought up, that, genetic testing can be used in many instances, which is beneficial. So in addition to, the safety and all that of having licensed genetic counselors, I think I heard it mentioned currently, the APRNs that get reimbursed for their services, but not the genetic counselors, so that would also allow them to get reimbursed. Was that correct?
Roberta Lang, for the record, yes, that is correct.
If I could, Madam Chair, Connor Kane for the record, CONNORCAIN. And I think, frankly, on a claim, it's not having the license number. So it's not the service that's being questioned. It's the fact that we've got some folks that do not have a license within the state who are providing the same service. And frankly, these folks are even more qualified to provide that service than most other providers are who are already providing it. And this bill, importantly, if somebody's already providing the service, it's not saying you can't continue to do so, but it's trying to help the folks who currently don't have a license get reimbursed for the work that they're doing, which again is being recognized.
Any additional questions? I don't see any, and the doctor answered mine, so thank you. We will begin with support testimony of Senate Bill 189. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in support? You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Assembly members. Kate Emery, Kateemery. I am a genetic counselor and constituent here in Carson City, and I strongly support SB 189 and all the previous testimony. I did want to note for the record that we do have 13 genetic counselors who are connected with our professional group here in Nevada, which may not be fully inclusive of all the genetic counselors in the state, but I did just want to update that number. It makes sense to license genetic counselors in order to provide the very best health care for our Nevada communities, and I hope that you'll support this bill. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chair Marzullo. Michael Hillerby on behalf of Renown Health. Thank the sponsors for bringing the bill. We think it's important. Genetic counselors are a very integral part of the healthcare team. We know that standardized regulations and oversight is good for both patient confidence and patient outcomes, and we appreciate the opportunity to support the bill. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. I see you seated in Las Vegas. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and other esteemed members of this committee. My name is Ali Khalaf, and I am a genetic counselor practicing at Comprehensive Cancer Centers in Nevada. I'm here today to speak in support of SB 189 that will ultimately improve access to quality genetic counseling services throughout the state. Just to briefly clarify some of our training, genetic counselors are, again, healthcare professionals with specialized training in medical genetics and counseling. To become a genetic counselor, one must complete a master's program in genetic counseling from a program accredited by the Accreditation Council for Genetic Counseling, which is recognized by the Council for Higher Education Accreditation, essentially ensuring that accredited programs meet rigorous academic and professional standards. After graduation, candidates must pass a certification examination to become board certified and participate in continuing education. This comprehensive training equips genetic counselors to guide patients and their families through complex genetic information and collaborate effectively with healthcare providers to address the medical, psychological, and familial implication of genetic conditions. We genetic counselors assist in determining the most appropriate genetic test, interpreting results, and ensuring that both patients and providers understand their significance. Our role involves providing individualized care, taking the time needed to thoroughly explain complex genetic information, which has been proven through research to significantly increase patient adherence to recommendations. We then help incorporate this information into the broader care plan of the patient. This personalized approach empowers patients and their providers to make informed medical decisions and navigate healthcare with confidence. Just to bring up a few quick examples. In oncology, a woman with a strong family history of breast cancer was referred for genetic counseling after her sister's breast cancer diagnosis. Testing revealed a BRCA1 mutation, giving her an 80% risk of developing breast cancer. With this knowledge, she ultimately chose preventative surgery, which could save her life and ultimately enabled her family to undergo testing as well for earlier interventions. Another example, in cardiology, a seemingly healthy child suffered sudden cardiac arrest and was later diagnosed with an inherited but treatable arrhythmia through genetic counseling and testing. This discovery led to proactive treatment for her family, dramatically reducing their risk of life-threatening events.
Sir?
These examples highlight the importance of
Sir, if you can please finalize your statement. Your time has ended.
Okay. The last thing is these highlight the importance of qualified genetic counselors in preventing harm and ensuring accurate care. Failing to regulate genetic counseling does put patients at risk for consequences, including misinterpreted test results, misdiagnosis, and life-threatening delays in care.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee, and thank you for letting me be here. My name is Jean Ann Holihan. That's Jeanann Holihan, Holihan. And I'm here to testify about the critical role that genetic counseling plays in cancer and why genetic counseling would have been valuable for me to have. First of all, I am a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister. I've been a teacher in the Clark County School District for 27 years in the same school, Gene Ward Elementary School, and besides that, a 4-time cancer survivor. In 1998, at the age of 34, my younger sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I thought, well, maybe I should get tested, even though I was only 39 and I was too young. I was positive for DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, and I underwent a lumpectomy and 32 rounds of radiation. Because I was in an HMO, I never saw an oncologist or a genetic counselor. 9 years later, I had a second primary breast cancer. This time it was in my lymph nodes, and I had chemo, radiation, and surgery. I finally decided maybe I better get tested, and I did. I didn't have a counselor, but my sister had been tested, and she was positive, so I said I better get tested. I was positive for the BRCA2 gene. What should I do? What does it mean? Was it even real? I had a hard time believing that I had this thing in me. A few years passed, and I got my third round of breast cancer, and I decided it's real. And I underwent a bilateral mastectomy. During this time, I was being monitored, thank goodness. And in December of 2022, the blood test showed that my tumor markers were raising. And I said to Dr. Parikh, how could I have breast cancer again? I don't have any breasts. He said, it's somewhere. I said, where? He said, probably abdominal. And he was right. More testing showed that I now had pancreatic cancer. If I had received genetic counseling alongside the testing, maybe I would have better understood what the implications were of having the BRCA gene, and it might have made a difference in my choice. My family's experience further highlights the need for genetic counseling. My mother has 5 daughters. 2 of us are positive, and the other were negative. But my sister's 2 daughters, the one who had the cancer, they were tested. They had it. The one daughter had a mastectomy in January. Her 26-year-old daughter just had one last month, but she was told by the genetic counselor, just go home and wait. And she said, no, I'm not waiting. I already know what's going to happen. And she had her mastectomy last month. What about my 3 sons? What does that mean? Do they have the gene? I don't know. I need to see a genetic counselor.
Ma'am, I hate...
My time?
Yes, and I hate to interrupt you. And I just thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us, because it is very, very important to get the word out. So if you can just finalize your statement, please.
Thank you so much for allowing me to tell you my story, and please vote yes.
Thank you. Once you're done testifying, if you guys can get up so the next person can come. Sir, you may begin when you're ready.
Chair Marzola, committee members, I'm Dr. Mark Nunes, M-A-R-K-N-U-N-E-S. I'm a pediatrician and clinical geneticist, and I represent Cure for the Kids Foundation in Las Vegas, Nevada. We support Senate Bill 189. SB 189 promotes quality, provides accountability, and permits collaborative care of individuals and families with inherited disorders. Permit me to drill down a little bit. Promote quality. You've heard a lot about what genetic counselors do, and I want to highlight psychosocial counseling. I want to highlight choosing the appropriate genetic test. I want to highlight interpreting that genetic test. We don't teach medical students how to do this. We don't teach pediatric residents, obstetrics residents, or internal medicine residents how to do that. The only individuals besides MD geneticists like myself that receive this training are master's trained genetic counselors. Provide accountability. There are many old school paternalistic individuals in the state of Nevada that faced with an inherited disorder in a family during a pregnancy, during a health crisis, are fairly paternalistic and directive in their care. Genetic counselors provide non-directive counseling, and licensure holds them to their ethos, holds them to that standard. And then finally, permit collaborative care. Currently, a genetic counselor can practice under the direction of an MD. So if they're going to be reimbursed for their services, they have to be tied fairly closely to a billing provider. Allowing genetic counselors to be independent healthcare providers increases access to genetic counseling services across the state because they don't have to be tied to a physician.
Doctor,
so I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
There's no questions. Thank you for testifying.
Good afternoon, members of the Assembly. My name is Julia Prinzi, Prinzi. I am a pediatric cardiology genetic counselor at Children's Heart Center of Nevada. I am here today to express my support for SB 189. Failing to regulate genetic counseling puts patients at risk for consequences, including misinterpreted test results, misdiagnoses, and life-threatening delays in care. But licensure isn't just about protecting patients. It's also about making our healthcare system more efficient. Most hospitals require state licensure to credential providers, so the lack of licensure in Nevada creates barriers to access and delays in care. Research shows that nearly a quarter of genetic tests are ordered incorrectly when not guided by a genetics expert. This leads to wasted resources, unnecessary procedures, and higher healthcare costs. Licensed genetic counselors ensure that the right tests are ordered the first time, reducing waste, improving outcomes, and helping to prevent fraud and abuse. In 2021, Nevada passed SB 251, which increased access to genetic testing and counseling for hereditary conditions like BRCA-related cancers, or BRCA. While SB 251 was a crucial step forward, it did not legally specify who may use the title of genetic counselor, leaving a significant gap in regulation. SB 189 is the logical next step to address this gap by formally recognizing genetic counseling as a regulated profession under the Nevada Board of Medical Examiners. With SB 189, Nevada takes a proactive step to ensure that all residents receive accurate, timely, and high-quality genetic counseling, building on the access that SB 251 previously established. I strongly urge this committee to support Senate Bill 189 to provide licensures to us genetic counselors here in Nevada.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in support for Senate Bill 189, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, Vice Chair Haddigan, members of the Assembly Commerce and Labor Committee. My name is Jacqueline Nguyen, Nguyen, and I represent the Nevada State Medical Association, the oldest and largest organization representing physicians in our state. We'd like to thank Senator Lang for bringing forth this bill, and we've worked with the stakeholders to address our initial concerns and appreciate the amendments. Many of our members in the fields of obstetrics and gynecology, oncology, neurology, and more utilize genetic counselors in their practices, and they are a valuable part of the healthcare team. We appreciate this bill bringing licensure, regulation, and clarity to this important profession, and we're in support of SB 189. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, Carrie Harrington, spelled CARIHERINGTON. I'm the Executive Director of Nevada Cancer Coalition. We're the statewide nonprofit partnership of both public and private health care working to reduce the burden of cancer in our state. We've previously submitted our letter of support for SB 189. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Tammy Romo, TAMI-ROMO. I fully support this bill with the importance of the genetic testing that I've been hearing all about. It's very important that we get on the same page as other states and they become licensed so they can continue to do their important work. I support this bill.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, and in strong support for this bill, I will ditto everybody before me. And those people are doing what their permit is for. I think we really badly need them. And if Nevada becomes one of the leading states with people, maybe we can have more people join us. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
Chair, the lines are open and working. We have no more callers for support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 189. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Senate Bill 189, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? Wouldn't be a meeting without you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Adam Plain, Plain, with the Nevada Division of Insurance. The division's neutral on Senate Bill 189. As you heard during the presentation, I believe the genesis of the bill is an insurance issue, but the bill itself is primarily a Title 54 licensing bill. There are a couple provisions within Title 57 that touch on Title 57. Division is perfectly fine with those changes, submitted written testimony to that effect. But I did want to touch on real quick, without putting words in anyone's mouth and without getting too far into the supposing, I would say that about a decade or so ago, we had an issue in southern Nevada with a clinic that was, I believe, allegedly reusing syringes during medical procedures. I think it might have been an endoscopy clinic. And several people contracted, I believe, hepatitis as a result. There were ensuing lawsuits. And as part of those lawsuits, the plaintiffs tried to rope in their health insurer because their health insurer was an HMO. And as an HMO, they were responsible for credentialing the providers on their provider panels. And so the plaintiffs had the legal theory that by credentialing this particular provider, the HMO had vicarious liability for the actions of the provider. I've been out of the game for a while. I did not follow that lawsuit. I have no idea what the results of it were, but I would just hypothesize that when we hear stories of insurers perhaps not reimbursing for the services of genetic counselors, at least in some instances, in the case of HMOs where they're not licensed, they can't really necessarily credential them to put them on their provider panels. So that might be another explanation for why reimbursement is not occurring. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I don't see any questions, but even a stronger argument, right, to license them. So I appreciate all that information. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Testify in neutral to Senate Bill 189, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. Senator, would you like to give any closing remarks? I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 189. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 191. This measure revises provisions relating to court reporters and court reporting firms. Welcome, Senator Daly. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Skip Daly, representing Senate District 13. And I apologize in advance for the length of the bill and the amendment. We've been working on it quite a bit. I knew there were going to be changes. So I'm going to probably give as much detail as I can about what we're trying to get done to help explain, hopefully dispel some misunderstandings if people may have them. So we'll go from there. So Senate Bill 191 is an attempt to end the controversy and disagreement between the traditional court reporting methods using a mechanical device to create a record of a proceeding and the use of audio-video media to record a proceeding. Currently, the traditional court reporter is a licensed profession in Nevada. Licensed court reporters have certain educational requirements. They have to engage in continuing education, pay a licensing fee, pass a test, and are subject to disciplinary process if they violate the law or other ethical responsibilities. The dispute that this bill will address, I hope, is between the use of audio-video methods to create a record of a proceeding. Currently, the audio-video recorders are not licensed, resulting in the dispute over the two methods. SB 191 will provide for and require audio-video recorders to be licensed in Nevada. That's the 2/3 part. In order for that to happen, several things that do not currently exist need to be established. Things like what the educational requirements should be, what type of tests need to be given, continuing education, and the fee for licensing to get the recorders, the video audio recorders, on par with the court reporters. There are a couple of sections that are related to court reporting, but to the licensing aspect, as I will go into more detail when I get to those sections. So what we're trying to do here, and I'll get into it a little bit more here, is try to get the three ways that some of this is being done, and if some of your attorneys, you'll understand. My understanding and what I've talked to with all of the parties multiple times, they haven't told me I'm wrong on this, or they're just not telling me what they really think. So you have court reporting firms that supply a video person, but only in the presence of a court reporter. So they don't try to make the transcript, they're just there to do the audio. That would be under this bill the basic, and I'll go over some of this in more detail in a second. There are other firms or people that are out there that are along the edges of what they can do. There's a dispute over whether they can give an oath between the two traditional court reporters and the video guys. The video people will go out, actually make the recording. They will say, this is the final record that you're able to use. Sometimes they will transcribe that recording. They can do everything except make a certified record. So if you have to have something in paper and go to the Supreme Court, they'll only take a certified written record. They won't take the video. Some courts will take the videos, others courts will not. So trying to get those two conflicting factions in line is what we're trying to do. So there'll be the basic video recorder. There'll be an advanced video recorder. There'll still be the traditional court reporters. And in order for it to get the regulation in place, to get the requirements, which is yet to be established, it'll have to be done by regulation, what it'll take to get an advanced video recording license, We're going to allow a provisional license for the existing people that are doing the video work without court reporters, making a non-certified record to continue the same as they are until we get the regulations in place and they have time to meet whatever the requirements are. So I'll go ahead and just go over the sections of the bill. So Section 2 exempts the 3 court systems, district courts, justice courts, and municipal courts from the provisions of the bill. I will talk a little more on the municipal courts when I get to that section. Basically, if you've been to court, from what I understand, district courts, justice courts are authorized in state law to appoint a person that the judge says that's not a court reporter to make video recordings of court proceedings when you're in court. When we get to the other section, we allow municipal courts to do the same thing. They're doing it, but they don't have specific language, and we'll hopefully fix that. Section 3.5 is one of the main provisions of the bill and where most of the discussion and compromise exists. Section 3.5 requires the Court Reporters Board, in consultation with the video recorders, to adopt regulations that provides for the basic audio-video certification, as I just said, an advanced audio-video certification, and a provisional audio-visual certification. Under the basic certificate, the person can record a proceeding, but only in the presence of a court reporter. That is the existing practice for most recordings. The requirements for an advanced certificate for an audio-video recorder are outlined in this section, but need to be spelled out more specifically by regulation. An advanced certificate holder, once established, will be able to record a proceeding without a court reporter being present. They will be able to transcribe the recording to create a written document and certify that document under the rules as established in the regulations. Currently, there are people that record proceedings using the audio-video process. Currently, right or wrong, one of the issues in dispute, these recorders are prescribing oaths and making transcripts when asked. The only line that has not been blurred is making a certified transcript. The provisional certificate under Section 3.5 is meant to allow the existing status quo to continue temporarily until the regulations are adopted and the people have the necessary time to be able to meet the as yet unestablished requirement to get an advanced certificate. That's the main part we've been working on. Section 4 is one of the sections that is not part of the licensing provisions. Section 4 establishes a procedure for when a court reporter gets a request from a third party for a copy of a transcript or a recording. Section 4 states that if a court reporter or recorder receives a request for a copy of a transcript from a third party, this section requires a notice with certain information to be sent to all parties. If any of the parties objects to the release of the transcript within 60 days, the document cannot be released unless the third-party requester gets a court order to release the document. There is one exception to a third-party request, and that is if the request is for the testimony of an expert witness. Such a request is limited and can only be made by a party. This was part of the compromise, but I still haven't got everybody on board. We'll see. Is a party to a case where the expert witness will also be a witness in their current or pending case. In that limited circumstance, the record can be released unless the parties get a court order to block the release. The court also, as language we added, must consider any NDA or confidentiality agreement before any release of the document. Just a little bit of history over this last interim. The court reporters came with a regulation, which we did not approve. In that regulation, they were trying to establish a procedure on how they would release documents to a third-party request. They had it set up in their regulation is that if they got a request from a third party, any third party for any reason, that they would have to send out a notice. And if they got an objection from any of the parties that said they didn't want it released, the party who is objecting would have to go to court and get a court order to stop the release of the document within 60 days, which is not really realistic. You can't make the court do anything in 60 days, I don't think, even if you said it was expedited and the rest of it. I thought that was backwards, so we wanted to change it and say, no, you should be able to object, and that should stop the release of that if you're a party. We also had the issue over the expert testimony, which some of the trial lawyers said, well, we need to get that transcript of the expert testimony. We narrowed that down, trying to find the compromise, which is about as far as I could get it, to only if you were a lawyer and then only if that expert witness was in a case you had coming up. Had to still consider the NDA, and the board is required in this bill to adopt regulations to narrow down and only give out the information necessary in relation to the expert testimony. So the board has to adopt regulations regarding how to redact, so only the relative expert testimony is released. So if this doesn't pass, and we don't have Section 4, and you're going to have people come up and say, well, we don't like this, and we don't like that, and we don't want anything to be released ever. If we can't get this bill passed, the rules are, if the court reporter has it, the court reporter gets a request, the court reporter has no obligation whatsoever to notify you, and if they pay the fee, they can release it. The video recorder people who aren't even licensed can do whatever they want with their video recording. So there would be no framework, no rules, nothing. So when the people come up and say, we have problems with that section, apparently they want no rules, and there would be no consideration of non-disclosure agreements. There would be no consideration of a notice. There would be no consideration of their objection. It would be strictly up to the person who has a copy of that record if they want to sell it or not. Continuing on, sections 4.3 and 4.7 make conforming changes. Section 5 adds several definitions to NRS 656.030, including an expanded definition for certificate to capture the new basic, advanced, or provisional licensing category definitions for certified legal recorders, legal recording, legal record media, and practice of legal recording. Section 5.1 is the first of 4 parallel sections. I know there's some new people here, but a parallel section is what Section 5 will look like after the provisions allowing for a provisional license expire. I believe it's around 2030, trying to give them enough time to get their advanced license. So Section 5.1 is the first of 4 parallel sections. Section 5.3 changes the board makeup to add a legal recorder and removes 1 court reporter position. A couple of things to note here is that later in the bill, the new position will only be filled when a vacancy occurs, so no person currently on the board will be kicked off before the end of someone's term, and the experience requirement is not required until we get the advanced license up and running. I forget what section, but I'll go over it at the end of the bill when we get to it. So in the meantime, until I can get that person on the board, because I know there's an ongoing dispute for many years between the court reporters, the video guys, and they hate each other. I'm trying to make them hate each other less, but there's still a trust issue. And I said, you have to do it. They have to do these regulations in consultation with the court reporters. They're going to get a person on the board for their consultation on this. The regulatory process has to go through a workshop where everybody in the industry can come in and give their input, has to go through a hearing where everybody can come in and give their input. Hopefully we get decent regulations. That has to then go in front of the Legislative Commission. And if they haven't gotten it right, or it's one-sided, or it's not fair, I'm going to hear from the lobbyists on one side or both sides. And the regulations probably won't pass if they're not fair. So I'm hoping I'm putting everybody at ease on what that happens, but I can't legislate trust. Section 5.7 is conforming language. Section 6 adds legal recorder to the existing rules regarding engaging in unlicensed activity. Section 7 includes legal recorders under their certification application process. Section 7.5 is the second parallel section to Section 7, as I previously mentioned. Section 8 adds legal recorders to the existing rules regarding knowledge and proficiency requirements. Section 9 makes a conforming change as well, just refers to a legal recorder in that section. Section 10 adds legal recorders to the existing minimum requirements for certification. Section 10.5 is a third parallel section for Section 10. Sections 11, 11.1, 11.3 also make conforming changes. Section 11.5 adds legal recorders to the existing certification renewal process. Section 11.7 revises the way the certification fee process is done. This hasn't anything to do with the dispute. This is a separate issue. It allows the board more flexibility to set and adjust the fees charged by the board. The change allows the board to set the fees by regulation and sets restrictions on how much those fees can change based on CPI. They basically came and said, hey, we want to change our fees that we can charge people for the licensing. And I said, you should try to do it by regulation, same as NDOW is trying to do or did do in one of their bills earlier. I've seen several other boards set their fees and move it to regulation. I think it provides more flexibility and efficiency, and there is this new range restrictions on how far they can change it. Sections 11.9, 12, 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, and 12.5 all make conforming changes. Section 12.6 strengthens the rules against engaging in unlicensed activity. I know the court reporters, and there's the anxiety between the video guys. The court reporters believe that what they're doing, and I'm not trying to inflame anybody here, is unlicensed court reporting. They've sent cease and desist orders. They've done a variety of different things, and they've gotten conflicting recommendations from their deputy attorney general on whether or not they can go after and prosecute this unlicensed activity. Of course, I disagreed with what they were told by their deputy attorney general, but that's okay. I can disagree, but it didn't make any sense to me because if you're a court reporter, you're licensed, you have to pay a fee, you have educational, a testing requirement, you have disciplinary actions can be taken against you, you have continuing education, and if you violate any of the rules, the court reporter boards can hold you in violation. But if you're unlicensed and you're doing similar things, you're just doing it by video, and you don't have any education requirement, you don't have any license requirement, you don't have any testing requirement, you don't have any continuing education, and you can't get in trouble. There's no violation of the law or whatever. I'm asking myself, who are the fools over here getting a license if all you have to do is be unlicensed to not be able to be found in violation? So that section 12.6 strengthens the rules against unlicensed activity. Section 13 adds CLR as an abbreviation to the abbreviations used in the industry. I read through that whole section and I got all those abbreviations. It's in existing law, so I didn't mess with it, but it all seems redundant and unnecessary, but nevertheless, we're going to conform. Sections 14 and 15 make conforming changes. Section 16, this portion of the bill came to me from leadership. The Court Reporter Association had asked for a separate bill. When leadership saw that I had a bill on court reporting, they said, you can add this into there, we'll save a bill. I said, sure. So we got those fees on what copies of transcripts and all that stuff can change. I know it's been a while since it's been changed. There may be other people here that can give more information if you have a question on that section. Section 16.3 adds language similar to the authorizing language for district and justice courts. So that's the part where the municipal courts, when I asked them, I said, are you doing the same thing as the district and justice courts? And they said they are. And I said, under what authority? And they said, well, we have this one little provision that says the municipal courts will operate as close as they can in conformance with what the justice courts do, and they were relying on that. And I said, let's put some language in that says if you're authorized by your city council and the municipal level, that the judges can appoint a person similar to the language we have for the other two courts. So then there's no question that they can do it. Section 16.5 is the last parallel section. It refers back to section 3.5, as I said earlier, showing section 3.5 after the provisional licensing has expired. Section 16.7 is transitory language regarding the changes to the board composition and qualifications, as I mentioned in section 5.3. So that language says no one's going to lose their position, so we have to wait for an opening for the video recorder people to be appointed. And then because there's the 5-year in the section 5.3 language says you have to have 5 years experience, no one's going to have that. That license doesn't exist yet, so they don't have to meet that qualification until we progress to a point where there's someone that meets those qualifications. Section 17 is also transitory language that allows the status quo to continue until the new regulations and certification standards for certification as an advanced recorder are established and people have time to meet those requirements. So as I said earlier, status quo is trying to be maintained here. You have court reporters, traditional court reporters. You have the basic video recording guys. They only operate, from what I've been told by the various people that just do it that way, they only operate and make the video when there's a court reporter in the room, and then that's the transcript, but you have the video as a backup. So the Section 17 then allows, under the provisional license, the people that are not currently licensed as court reporters, but are making video transcripts, making transcripts to writing, they just can't make certified transcripts. They'll be able to continue doing exactly what they're doing now with no change to anybody, anywhere, until we get the regulation in place. They know what the requirements are to get the advanced license. They have time enough to meet those requirements and get the advanced license. So after we get done with all of this, you'll have the basic video guys only in the presence of a court reporter. You'll have your traditional court reporters. You'll have the video legal recorders. And they'll be all on par with the court reporter. And a court reporter, if I was a court reporter, I'd go get my basic video license, and then I could do both and beat them to the punch. But nevertheless, everything should maintain status quo until we get the regulation and the requirements in order to get the advanced certification. Section 17.5, again, transitory language, which maintains the existing certification fees at the current levels until the regulations as provided in Section 11.7 are adopted and approved. Section 18 describes when the effective dates are for the various sections of the bill, and different ones go into effect at different times, which is pretty normal. I didn't bring a copy of the 29 pages. I have it on the computer if I have to bring it up. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope I have addressed as many questions as I could anticipate with the presentation. I know it was a little longer than what most of mine are, but I wanted to make sure with all of the changes and the work that we've done that you guys were comfortable with the explanation.
Does that end your presentation? Thank you. Committee members, any questions? Assemblymember Roth.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator, for the presentation. I think a few clarifying questions. So just to clarify, are the currently unlicensed court reporters, are they simply taking a video, or are they taking the video and then providing a written transcript as a result of that?
Thank you again, Skip Daly, for the record, Madam Chair.
You can go direct.
Yep. My understanding is that some people are just taking the video, and I've been told by different people that that becomes the record, right? Just the video. What I've also been told is that some courts will accept that, other courts won't. Some courts want a written document. Of course, if you're putting in a briefing or whatever, you can't put a video in a brief, so you're going to have to reference to something that's made into a transcript of some sort. So yes, I believe that they are, from the video, making some type of record in writing of that. And that's where some of the education that the court reporters and the rest of them and their license is on the line. If they don't have it exact and verbatim of what was in there, you have a lot of what I'm told, areas where it's inaudible or, wasn't the record. And if a person puts that forward, they have the video as the backup. So hopefully they made it correct. But if they're asked to put it in writing, my understanding is that they are. And the only thing they can't do is make a certified copy, which would be suitable for going to the Supreme Court.
Thank you. So I'm just trying to grasp kind of where the problem comes from. And I understand that the district courts and the justice courts and the municipal courts are excluded from this bill. But I think they illustrate how it works in practice because they do use video recording in the justice courts. It's called JAVs. A recording is done. And part of the reason for that is that we do have a court reporter shortage in the state. And so we don't have enough court reporters to man all of the justice courts and the district courts to make those certified copies. So if a JAVS recording comes to me when the case is bound over, I would then have a certified court reporter provide a written transcript. Is there any reason that I guess I'm trying to get at what is the issue in having the video recording when the attorneys on the case could just take that video recording and request a certified transcript from a certified court reporter?
Skip Daly again for the record, and I suppose you would have to ask some of the court reporters. What I have been told is that they wouldn't be able to, and maybe that's not the case, I don't know, but some of the court reporters have told me they wouldn't be able to certify that because they weren't there. They can't certify something that they didn't witness, et cetera. And I think it's two separate things, as you know, and I know you have experience in the district and in the courts from your job. Recording the proceeding in court under this way that we're doing the video there, I don't know how that gets transcribed or if it's just that staff person that does it, but they've been authorized by statute, appointed by the court, they've been enabled by their county commission for that person to do that work, right? I think that's an entirely different situation than if you're going to a private deposition where you're in a civil case and there's some other issues somewhere else. You're not in that court setting. Those people are not authorized by any court or the county commission to do that. They're going out and providing a service. And like I said, I'm not trying to start any arguments here. I can understand the court reporter's point of view is that that would be unlicensed activity. They're essentially doing the same thing, but without the license. I hope that answers your question. And I understand that's where it's going, which is why I'm trying to push the court reporters to say, like it or not, it's going to audio video. We need to try to make sure that we get the level. The reason we have boards in the first place is for the benefit of the public so they can have confidence that that's the actual record of what happened when they're presenting it to the court and the court's relying on it, that we have people that are licensed in those positions so that we know and have confidence in what's actually written on the paper actually was spoken in the room that day. And if you're not there, I don't know that you can do that as well. That's what I've been told by the court reporters on that regard. And if we're trying to get there and get people and have confidence in that, which is the whole reason we have licensing, I understand the court reporter's angst. I also understand the video guys saying we don't want to be put out of business because there's been a couple of iterations of this bill that would have said, that's unlicensed activity and you can't keep doing it. And that would have put them all out of business. We'd had a different issue. Let's try to find the compromise. Let's get people licensed. Let's make sure we have the educational and training and testing requirements in place. Everybody will be on the same level playing field, licensed going forward, but we have to have the transition period what this bill is trying to do. And I've always said, if I was a court reporter, I'd go get the video part of it. I'd start operating that way because that's the way it's going to go. And if you want to be a dinosaur, they went extinct.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. I have a quick one, Senator. How many other states have passed a law such as this to where they're making the video recorders be licensed or get some sort of certificate?
Skip Daly again for the record. Good question, Madam Chair. I do not know where other states are as far as the licensing and what status they're in as far as making the transition from traditional court reporting over to video. I do know that in Nevada there's been this dispute for several years. This will solve that dispute, and I think, as I said, give confidence to both the courts and the public that the transcripts they're receiving from whatever professional they hire and whatever media they were doing actually reflects what happened in the room.
Thank you. And my last question is, so we are going to have them obtain some sort of advanced certificate. Do you know what states provide that training or certificate of some sort?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Skip Daly again for the record. My understanding is that there's a national association that goes with the, and I forget the acronym, for video recording and transcribers, et cetera. That's not recognized by the state. My understanding is it's like a 20-hour class, right? It's not as involved as what you have to do. But then it's mainly about the video and the audio portion of it. Making an actual transcript in accordance with acceptable rules and procedures and terminology and the various things, and naming the parties rather than, anyway, a lot of that stuff, my understanding, is not included in that. But we're trying to say, what are the regulations going to look like? Don't know, but I think they need to be on par, the two professions, and basically merged into one court reporting type of scenario. So you can stay with the old way or you can do the blended way, but we're trying to maintain the status quo while we establish that. And I know this is like the third time this has been attempted. I know there was a bill last session and the session before. I think Senator Hammond had them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. Members, any additional questions? I don't see any, so we will move to support testimony of Senate Bill 191. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Chair Marzola, members of the Committee on Commerce and Labor, my name is Joseph Guild, G-U-I-L-D. I'm a lawyer in Reno, and I'm here, pardon me, representing the Nevada Court Reporters Association. And I'd like to thank Senator Daly and also the Majority Leader of the Senate. He mentioned for their support and his hard work. But the primary thing that the court reporters are concerned about is a raise in the compensation that, interestingly enough, is statutorily created here in Nevada, and that's Section 16 of the bill. So the other issues, the court reporters are concerned that there is an unregulated sector in the system that just takes does video recordings, and their concern is that recording can result in a transcript if necessary, but it's not a complete record because the transcript created by a court reporter is by the reporter who was in the room taking the notes, and otherwise some training is probably needed, and some sort of a licensing is also needed for Nevada. Court reporters are, of course, certified, educated for 3 years, and have a vigorous examination. With that, please support the bill, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No questions, thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. The city is specifically supportive of Sections 2 and 16.3. I want to thank the Senator for putting those sections in the bill and for clarifying municipal court authority in these sections of the bill. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in support of Senate Bill 191 in Carson City? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Don't see. Okay, he's shaking his head no. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 191, please press *9 or raise hand in Zoom to join the queue.
Good afternoon. It's Tammy Romo again, T-A-M-I-R-O-M-O. I am supportive of this bill. If you want to be in the VIP section, you need to have the proper pass to be there, no matter what you're doing. And yes, we are going towards the electronic age, and anything to get the job done should be licensed like everybody else. So I support this bill. Thank you.
Caller ending in 815, you are unmuted. Please begin when ready. Chair, it appears this caller is not able to begin. Would you like to proceed and move forward to the next caller?
Yes, please.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello?
We can hear you. You can go ahead and begin.
Am I unmuted now? Okay, thank you. Okay, Chair Marzola and members of the committee, thank you for hearing from me. My name is Lori Judd, Lorijudd. I'm a former 13-year member of the Nevada Certified Court Reporters Board, here to give a voice to the litigants and to speak on behalf of the integrity of the court record. I'd like to first thank Senator Daley, Joe Guild, and the Legislative Counsel Bureau for all their generous assistance in helping this bill get to the finish line. This bill will provide an expected level of competence and conduct, not just for the court reporters that report the proceedings and make the printed record live as the words are spoken, but now will provide expected standards of conduct and competence for those that record the video of deposition proceedings and then make the record from the video recording after the proceedings have concluded. This bill provides a way for litigants to address any potential problems they might have with a transcript or with the conduct of a deposition officer or with how their personal information is handled and protected, including requests from non-parties to a particular litigation matter. I also strongly support the increase in pay for those that do this job in the court systems. 10 years is too long to wait for a pay increase, especially in this current economy. Thank you for your time, and we hope you'll support this bill.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Heidi Constan, H-E-I-D-I-K-O-N-S-T-N. I am the chair of the Nevada Certified Court Reporters Board, and I'm here to speak in support of Senator Daley's bill. A component of Senate Bill 191 that is most important to the board is the stricter language regarding prosecuting unlicensed practices. The board's DAGs have advised we currently do not have enough teeth in Chapter 656 to prosecute the unlicensed practice of court reporting. This bill gives us the language needed to be able to protect the unsuspecting public from the unlicensed practice of court reporter, i.e., selling transcripts to parties that are not certified and therefore cannot be used in Nevada courts.
Section 11.7, which allows the board to prescribe fees by regulation, was an excellent suggestion by Senator Daley, and we welcome changes to that section. In addition, the third-party transcript request language is needed to give instruction to court reporters and firms on how to handle transcript requests from non-parties. Currently, there is no guidance around this issue, and having this language in the statute will be helpful for everyone. While the board does not have purview over the court rate increases, we agreed with Section 16 and what the Nevada Court Reporters Association, a separate organization, has put forward regarding court transcript formatting and rates. It has been over 10 years since court rates were addressed by the legislator, and it is time for an increase. Lastly, board members have participated in several meetings with Senator Daley and various stakeholders regarding legal recorders. While Senate Bill 191 is not a perfect bill, in our opinion, because it allows people who have not been practicing court reporting, who have been practicing court reporting illegally to continue practicing under a
Ma'am,
provisional
if you can
license.
please wrap up your testimony. Your time has ended.
Sure. You bet. It does give the board the ability to put parameters around provisional practices. And I just wanted to, I hope it's okay that I answer a question. One of the committee members asked if there were other states that have adopted language like this. And to my knowledge, Tennessee and Georgia both have. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your
for
testimony.
listening to our support of.
Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, Chair, one moment.
Hi, this is Kevin Diamond. I'm an attorney member of the board, Certified Court Reporter Board. I echo what Ms. Constant just talked about. She's the chair of our board. And I also wanted to address the question earlier about the JAB situation. The bill specifically excludes the courts that use JABs. They are specially licensed people who record in the courtroom. What we're primarily talking about here is depositions and other hearing transcripts. What has been happening is videographers who are only certification is that they are a notary and cannot by law swear people in for a deposition will take the video and then present the video to a third-party court reporter who wasn't there, who will type what has been said. We don't know if that court reporter or person is certified in any way, and they can only certify that what they've typed is what they heard, but they can't certify that what they've typed is what was actually said. And that's why many of our judges won't accept those transcripts that come from just the notary / videographers in these cases. We look forward to working with videographers if this bill were to pass on coming up with the training and certification that they would need. And I think the primary issue that we need to address, and that Senator Daley, we greatly appreciate his work, is regulation of the videographers and other recorders who don't have any regulation now, so that the public can be protected from any issues or any problems that should arise. Thank you to the committee.
Chair, there are no additional callers for support at this time.
Thank you. We'll move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to oppose Senate Bill 191? You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and committee members. Misty Grimmer, GRIMMER, representing the Nevada Resort Association. First of all, I really want to thank Senator Daley. He has done a ridiculous amount of work on this bill to get it to the shape that it's in today, and we've had several meetings, and I hope that we can continue to have those meetings before the bill gets moved to work session. As he mentioned in his testimony, our objections are only to Section 4, which deals with when third parties request copies or recordings of the witness testimony or the expert witness testimony. currently, the way that the bill is drafted, if they request it, we have to give notice to anybody who is requesting it that we don't give permission to it. And I think we would like it if it was just reversed the other way around, where we would have to give affirmative permission for those to be for those to be given to any third parties. So I hope that this is something we can still keep working on and be able to move our position to neutral, and I will keep working with the senator. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. For the sake of brevity, would like to also thank Senator Daley for meeting with us and working through this bill. We have the same concerns regarding Section 4 and the third-party release of this information that were just mentioned by my colleague, Ms. Grimmer. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members committee, Brett Scolari, Strategies 360, here on behalf of Veritext, LLC, Magna Legal Services, U.S. Legal Support, and Esquire Deposition Solutions. Wanted to echo, we've spent a lot of time with Senator Daley, appreciate all his work. We are hoping to get our clients to a position of neutral. We're just not quite there yet, but we'll continue to work with him and see if we can find a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I see you seated in Las Vegas. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Jamie Cogburn on behalf of the Nevada Justice Association. Cogburn, C-O-G-B-U-R-N. Similarly, unfortunately, we have to oppose this bill. We've tried working with Senator Daley. Without a doubt, there's some regulation that's needed for court recorders, but this bill really only increases the cost of litigation for Nevada residents and really goes backwards with technology. Essentially, every court uses video recording. So if it's not good enough for if it's good enough for the court, why is it not good enough for a deposition? And I would ask this committee to ask yourself, what is more accurate, the video recording of what someone said or the transcript of what a court reporter thinks they heard? The reality is everybody can listen to the video recording. That is the record that gets submitted to the court. There does need to be some regulation on the transcript that is provided after that, but that is not the official record when you're dealing with the district court and trial court level. There's a shortage of court reporters. It is my understanding there's only 171 court reporters that reside in Nevada, and that is why the courts have had problems with court reporters, and it's hard to get a court reporter in certain cities if you're in the rurals or even in Reno. Regarding Section 13, the increase in pay, we have no issue with the increase in pay, but we do have an issue with the increase in the copy of the transcript. For those that attend the deposition, it goes from $1 a page to $1.50 a page when all you're doing is providing an email with a link to a transcript that another party has already paid for the transcript and for the court reporting services. It must be noted that multiple courts have found video depositions are proper and they make a proper record. And because of that, we have to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 191, please press *9 or raise hand within Zoom to join the queue.
Hi, Ivan. EANOS, like a Frank, and I'm in opposition for the bill as written. There's good intentions, but how honest are going to be video people? You can just make requirements for training and all that are matching whatever the court reporters have right now. Very well. The video recording is
Ma'am,
because
you have really
now.
bad reception.
Yes. Okay. Should I speak slower?
Well, no, I don't think it's slower. I think it's your reception. Can you go ahead and submit your testimony?
I will.
You can.
Yes,
Perfect.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Please put me for all of this.
Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, there are no additional callers to provide opposition at this time.
Thank you. We'll move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. There's no one in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 191, please press star 9 or raise hand in Zoom to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify.
Thank you. Would you like to give any closing remarks, Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Again, Skip Daly representing Senate District 13. Just a couple of comments. The clients that were represented by Mr. Scolari when he came up, that's where I was talking about. They're almost there. It's just a trust issue. There's not really anything to be changed in the bill because, like I said, I can't legislate trust. The NJA's concerns and various things, this is not going to do anything to lessen the number of court reporters or restrict anybody that's currently doing video and only use court reporters. All of the status quo is going to stay in place until we can get the license requirements in place so that we can actually have a board that functions and have licensed activity rather than unregulated, unlicensed activity. In regard to the issues from the NGA or the Resort Association and the Chamber regarding Section 4 on the request of the transcripts, they want in the negotiation or the discussion all or nothing. My experience is if you have to have all or nothing, you get nothing a lot. This compromise, they say we want to talk more. Friday's the deadline, right? I've got it narrowed down as far as we can. NJA has accepted only an attorney and only if that witness is in a pending or open case. And I don't, other than just saying, we'll kick NJA to the curb and nobody can ever get his transcript ever, I don't think that's fair where we need to go either. And if we don't pass this bill, if they work and, fail to get a signature across the way or get the 2/3 vote, then there'll be no rules and their information that they're interested in protecting will be open to anybody that requests it. So I'm not sure where the logic comes in on what's a fair compromise there. So I believe this bill is it. I'll talk with anybody they want. If they really come up with an idea that can be done between now and Friday, I just don't think so. We've worked on this for basically almost 115 days, or 108 days now or something like that. So I hope that we've got you enough information and you're satisfied with it, but I can't legislate trust, and the compromise on Section 4 is what it is.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for being with us today. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 191. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. We will start in Carson City. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Great pleasure to see you all in person. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk about the gig jobs, the gig economy, if that's okay. This session and the last several sessions, there has been no bills, as far as I know, to regulate gig jobs. It's a very serious concern. And I'm talking mainly about the rideshare companies, Uber and Lyft. Growing number of people are using them, but it's a serious concern because these companies are skirting and evading many labor laws because since they're gig, they don't follow many labor laws. such as minimum wage, so a person can just sit there for an hour. They don't get paid. They don't offer hardly any benefits. And increasingly, these companies have been taking a larger and larger share, some as high as 60, 70%. They don't provide them vehicles. They don't provide them maintenance. They don't provide them gas. And by the way, I'm surprised that gas in this city is higher than Clark County. They don't provide them insurance, which is very, very high. One friend of mine, and actually, she was, I met her actually down in the testimony down south. I think she told me the driver paid $35 and she got something like $6 to $10. I don't know about you, but I think this is robbery. This is sad. People are being screwed. Okay? And, there's got to be regulations on this. The neighboring state, California, they propose some regulation. I think we got to look into that. I think there should be a regulation say, you know what? If the ride is $30, the driver has to make $15. This is insanity, and they don't even know what they're getting into. And you know what happens? People will compete with other jobs. Maybe they'll still become taxi drivers, limo drivers. We had Attorney General Ford talk about the unemployment rate being the highest. Well, guess what? I don't even think it's 5%.
Can you please wrap up your testimony? Your time has ended.
10 seconds. Please request for 2027 to regulate these companies and protect Nevada workers. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment today. I don't see anyone else walking up in Carson City. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas broadcast. Is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 or raise your hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, our public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers choosing to provide comment at this time.
Thank you so much. This concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, May 14th, as meeting's adjourned.